Getting a hook up was just a matter of dropping a bait over the side, letting him run, and then getting that hook in good and solid. As soon as that shark started to go, we knew we were getting it all together at last. This little super-fast taper rod was a much better proposition than conventional game tackle, and for the first time that day, I actually felt as if I were in charge of the situation. This shark was a lot smaller than the others we'd hooked earlier, and 5 minutes after he'd taken the bait, he was on the gaff, and then the real fun started. The gaffing is the most critical stage of the fight with any big fish. The gaff man never really gets the credit he deserves when a record game fish goes up on the scales. Let's take another look at the closing stages of that fight in slow motion. Keep in mind that this is not a big shark, and just watch the way Wayne really gets himself stretched when he tries to hold on with that gaff rope. Well, we had one shark tied up where we might have had 3, but we'd learned a lot from the fish lost and the one captured. With tackle specially designed for the job, we now saw small boat shark fishing as a definite sporting proposition. And with that day at an end, we were really looking forward to our next encounter with the big bities. We arrived at Southwest Rocks at the tail end of some very bad weather, so we played tourist for a couple of days, waiting for the seas to settle down. The local surfers were out and having themselves a ball in the big waves. Don't ever believe that old wives' tale that you won't find sharks when dolphins are about. We've seen them hunting as a team too often to believe that. In fact, there was one enormous shark mixed in with this school. This area is well known for its big fish, but it also has quite a reputation for small fish. Every year, Mother Nature provides a treat for the kids in the May school holidays. In May, the blackfish arrive, and they pour into the entrance of this little creek in their thousands. For fishermen young and old, dreams come true when the annual blackfish invasion gets underway, and it's a good idea to make sure your reel works before the change of the tide. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we were getting ready for another kind of fishing. We were just as eager to come to grips with the fish as the black fishermen at the creek. But organisation is as important as skill when you work from a boat. Every item of gear has its own special place in the cockpit, and it is stored in exactly the same place every time out. When the action starts, you have to be able to put your hand on anything you need without having to stop to think about it. For big fish, you need big gaffs with razor-sharp edges, and heavy-duty gloves are worn by the man who will have to take the wire in his hands when the shark comes to the boat. When everything is stored away, the whole cockpit area should be clear and ready for a fight. A lot of people find it hard to understand why we want to spend so much of our lives fishing. Perhaps this scene will help them to know how it is. On a beautiful day, with our feet on the deck of a boat, country like this around us, and a whole ocean to explore, we just can't imagine living any other way. And you're never really alone at sea. Sooner or later, a few of the gang turn up, and I could sit and watch these fellows in the water for hours. After our first little adventure, Wayne and I had seen good value in this shark fishing business. And this time out, we had everything set up the way we wanted it. Wayne had built a new set of rods to suit the boat. We had a burley bucket mounted on the stern. And as a special added attraction, we were laying out a surface trail of concentrated tuna oil. But, as usual, we had our problems. A raging current was coming down from the north, and the whole Pacific Ocean was moving past at a good 4 knots. It's a sad fact of life that good weather and good fishing very rarely go hand in hand. In quiet conditions like these, the action usually starts late in the afternoon. If you want big fish, you put out your baits, lay down your burley trail, and you wait. Game fishing is very much a waiting game. I've heard some doctors suggest that patients take up a hobby like fishing to soothe their nerves. I don't know so much about that. This sort of endless waiting can turn a man into a nervous wreck. Your eyes play tricks on you after a while, and you start to see imaginary fins all over the place. Towards mid-afternoon, a dramatic change started to take place. The current faded right away, and the barometer dropped as a big storm front began to move in. In less than an hour, day turned into night, and with the sudden change in conditions, the ocean came to life. Schools of mackerel tuna began to ripple the surface, and the big fellows were right behind them. The long wait had paid off. We were back in business again. From the time that line came tight, we knew we had the system sorted out at last. The combination of the low kidney harness and super fast taper rod, much shorter than usual, worked perfectly, and freestanding to fight a big fish was more comfortable than working from a game chair in a big cruiser. My first shark at Port Stephens had been one of the worst fishing experiences of my life, and this was one of the best. Inside of 10 minutes, Wayne was soaking the wiring gloves to soften them. And 2 minutes later, he had the trace. He looks like one very quiet fish. But he's just catching his breath, and Wayne gets stretched again. You can always pick a good wire man in a crowd. He's the only fellow with arms 12 feet long. A shark has armor-plated skin, and if you don't place the point of that gaff exactly right, he'll roll clean out of it every time. This is another way to get a gaff into a shark. Most people who use this method are called stumpy. With the tail rope on and the shark secured on the stern cleat, we can finally say he's ours and know for sure that shark fishing from small boats is a practical exercise, providing the size of shark and boat are kept in proportion. A big mako or a 1,000-pound white shark might best be left alone. This shark is a whaler. He's one of our most common species, and he's a man-eater. Whalers are responsible for the majority of attacks that take place in our rivers and bays and along our ocean surfing beaches. They don't need to be big to be dangerous, and whalers much smaller than this one have been responsible for fatal attacks in the past. These jobs need to be done so the shark can be towed without wire and rope fouling the propeller. But you can bet your life Wayne is watching that mouth very closely, and if it moves, he'll move a lot faster. Shark fishing involves a lot of wading and a lot of hard work. There's not much finesse involved in fighting a shark, and it's pretty much a test of your strength and endurance against his. At the gaffing stage, it can be dangerous, especially if you fish from a small boat where there's not much between you and the shark. When it's all over, if you win, you find yourself with several hundred pounds of fish you can't eat. But of course, it's not as simple as all that. There's an element of personal challenge involved. You never know what will swim up to the back of the boat when you lay that burley trail down. And until you attract a shark that frightens you off, you have no way of knowing what your own limitations are. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but in a fisherman's world, there can't be too many thrills to top small boat shark fishing.